So we've done one type of wood, and now we're going to move to do a different type of wood here. Now this one is much more simple to do, and it might represent the more kind of straightforward planks of a pine or a lighter kind of a wood. So what I'm doing now is I'm just placing in the joints where the edges of the plank as they're laid meet one another. I'm just going to put them in sort of randomly. It often looks better if they're put in randomly. Sometimes if there's a very clear sort of order to them or geometry to them, they look very unnatural. They don't look right. So be aware of the composition of what you're rendering to and how it's going to look, because it all makes a difference. Now, okay, so I've marked in the joins of the planks, if you like, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to pull some lines like this, and then I'm lifting up. So I'm leaning a little more heavily at the edge of the plank, and then I'm sort of lifting up a little more heavily, and then lifting up a little more heavily, and then lifting up. Okay, so I'm going to do the same for all of them. So this is very similar to how we put the grain in here, except I'm just using lines for the moment. I will enhance them a little bit, but this is a more subtle kind of effect. Now I'm putting lines in all the planks here. And you can see, like, I'm not being overly careful about it either, because again, like I said in the last video, nothing in nature has a straight line. Okay, now I'm just going to shade this in very slightly, and then lifting my pencil off. It'll be easier to show you on this one, so I'm shading it a little bit to create a darker area there, and then I'm lifting it off as I move down the end of the plank to create this sort of dark and light effect. Now I'm going to accentuate the line a little bit in some of them. Now that should do it. Now I'm going to take my lighter colour again, and this time I'm going to use this nib just so I have a little bit more control over it, or it has that slightly more sketchy feel to it, because this is a lighter wood, so, and it enables me just to kind of pull it down the plank, resting it at the edge and then lifting it as it moves down. And then you get that very nice, very simple light wood floor. This one looks maybe something a bit like a maple floor. So you can see how simple and effective that is. Okay, so this is a good one to have in your toolbox because it's very, very straightforward. Now I'm looking at this thinking, will I enhance this a bit again? you know, sometimes where you might think, I think there's too much contrast there, like that's too dark and that's too light, so I'm just going to very slightly, you know, pull my marker over it again in areas, just to reduce that contrast a little bit. Now, and then I'm going to put the nib of the marker in some areas just to enhance the line of the grain in certain areas. Okay, and that's really it. And then you have your light wood floor.